We usually start the show off by saying, welcome to the Broken Pencil Booking Company Pro Wrestling Podcast infused with hip-hop. I am Wood.
Made daily.
Fresh.
With organic, farm-to-table, broken pencil logic. You stay classy, Internet. I'm Suave Burgundy.
And we're not starting the show with that.
We're not?
Nah. Because this is time for a pencil break.
Okay.
A rewrite applied with broken pencil logic.
A broken pencil rewrite.
There, I like that. Pencil break. A broken pencil rewrite. With your host, Wood.
And you stay classy, Internet. I'm Suave Burgundy.
There we go. We have 60 minutes right now. The timer starts now.
Iron Man match.
There we go. Today's broken pencil rewrite. So we were talking about the $1 Million Man and the advent that is the $1 Million Man. And the $1 Million Man did not really come into prominence. Like all the pushing the dollar bills in the mouths for doing dumb shit on TV, that kind of ran its course. But it came to a head in February of 1988.
True.
When that man, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, on a Friday night live WWE or WWF television show on NBC called The Main Event, had Andre the Giant take on Hulk Hogan with a botched finish in which he then immediately purchases the WWF championship off of Andre the Giant.
Kicking off one of the greatest angles in professional wrestling history.
All time.
Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, I'll go ahead and say, belongs on a character Mount Rushmore. As far as characters in pro wrestling, he belongs on a Mount Rushmore.
And we'll later on in the show, we'll have our own conversation as far as who other players that possibly could have been the $1 Million Man, but let's face it. 30 plus years later, he's still relevant as the $1 Million Man.
We have some very cool mixtape ideas that we're going to incorporate here, but the main thing that we're going to get to on today's pencil break, a broken pencil rewrite, we ask the question, what if the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase won the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 4?
So, here's the hard part about that. You were saying, what if he wins it at 4?
Right.
What if the decision stood at the main event and carried into 4? Because we're literally like a few weeks away from 4 at this point.
Here's the thing. Hogan is out for a movie.
Right.
And technically, if you're going to crown a new champion a month out from 4, in that era, you don't have back and forth title switches very quickly like that. You like champions to establish themselves, have long reigns to where you're building a star, because at that point the championship was solidifying you as the top guy. You need that opportunity to be able to draw. You didn't really have a lot of you didn't play hot potato with the title. No,
not at all. I mean, and proof positive of that was that quote unquote loss in February of '88 was Hogan's first title loss since beating the Iron Sheik in what, 80 was it 83 when he beat the Iron Sheik?
84. January 14th.
Don't make me do my Googles on you, fam.
Hit the Googles. Because sometimes I mess that up. I think it's like January 23rd or something crazy like that. We did it on a previous show where I had the date right, but I had the wrong year.
It might be the same situation.
It might be like January 23rd, 1984.
It was 84.
What's the day?
Blah, 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 blah.
January what?
No, it was November the 16th.
Nah, they can't.
January 23rd.
Okay.
January 23rd.
I know I wasn't tripping. January 23rd, 1984.
All right. I don't know what this November the 16th shit is, but at any rate.
We'll figure it out some other time.
Yeah, so we have Hogan losing on February 5th of 88 on the main event.
Right.
Going into WrestleMania 4 where and Jack Tunney, that's of course Jack Tunney.
El Presidente.
Of course he comes on because the only episodic television you had back then was Superstars and Wrestling Challenge.
Right.
And on Mondays you had Primetime Wrestling, which was like a compilation show with Mean Gene Okerlund and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
With house show footage and specially shot matches and things of that nature.
Yeah, and the only other people that got anything other than that were people that lived in the New York area or who had hard-wired or hard-body satellite dishes in the backyard where they could actually get the New York or Northeastern Sportsnet and also Sports Channel America and all that good shit.
Wow.
So
I'm getting an education right now.
Yeah. It was insane. It was like the way we watch wrestling on the internet now. If you had a satellite dish, it was open game. I mean, you can see like New Japan shit and All Japan shit back then. It was crazy. Yikes. At any rate, so if you're looking at that, like, so you basically had a week and change because there was no way, since Wrestling Challenge and Superstars was filmed or taped days in advance, that you were going to get a decision from Jack Tunney the very next day off of something that happened live. Right. So we had to wait a week. And Jack Tunney said something to the effect of DiBiase wasn't the champion because he did not win by pin or submission, and that Andre surrendered the title and therefore the title was vacant.
Okay.
Now, if we want to really throw darts at this shit,
if we want to be hard body about it,
Iron Sheik never lost the title because his manager threw in the towel. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob Backlund rather never won the title because the manager threw in the towel on Sheik.
Oh yeah, look, we're not gonna try to rewrite all of wrestling because some
saying shit can go down.
Suspension of disbelief at this point.
But Jack Tunney was a straight shooter when it came to rules. Like if you wanted the decision,
he was scripted to be a straight shooter.
We're talking kayfabe here, so
okay. Well, I mean, you know, you gotta
because he was in Canada and WWF had never did a show in Canada anyway. So
blame Canada. It's not a real country anyway.
So fast forward, there's a tournament that happens at WrestleMania 4,
live from Atlantic City.
One of two WrestleManias from Atlantic City in a row.
Back to back.
So the first, and it was hosted by Robin Leach. The late, great Robin Leach, by the way. Lifestyles of Rich and Famous fame.
Indeed.
He was the godfather to 2 Chainz. Was his most what's his name? Most expensivest. That's
yes,
the name.
Yes, one of my favorites. All
right, so in the first round, we have the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. In his corner, Andre the Giant and Virgil.
Right.
Against Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We also have Don Morocco with Superstar Billy Graham in his corner with Dino Bravo. And in that first round, naturally, the $1 Million Man defeats Hacksaw Jim Duggan. This is a rivalry from Mid-South where they became friends, and then they Washington became enemies, and then actually they were part of the Rat Pack together, and then became friends, and then became enemies, became friends again before they both left for Greener Pastures, which was the WWF.
I recently saw a clip of Mid-South with Ted DiBiase clean shaven. It ruined me. It's like, what? Who is this man? I've never seen him before in my life.
A baby-faced heel. It's cold.
This doesn't make sense.
Are you talking about Black Glove DiBiase?
No, he was in a suit, but it was still.
Oh, that was a sharp dressed man, North American title era.
Naked face though. I couldn't process that.
Yeah, that was good TV. That was about 8 weeks for the TV right there for the whole best dressed man angle with for the North American title with Jim Duggan. Go check that on the network, Mid-South Wrestling.
Indeed.
Macho Man Randy Savage with Elizabeth defeats the Natural Butch Reed, who we will talk about later on this episode.
Butch Reed will make another appearance in this episode. Don't worry about it. We got it.
Cornered by Slick.
Gotcha.
Greg the Hammer Valentine, along with the Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart, defeats Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the One Man Gang, along with Slick, defeats Bam Bam Bigelow with Oliver Humperdinck in his corner, and Ravishing Rick Rude with Bobby the Brain Heenan in his corner. Fought Jake the Snake Roberts, but no one won that match, so they were both eliminated.
Biggest thing that sticks out, there are a lot of managers in this era.
Man, I was just about to say,
everybody's got a manager, everybody's got a mouthpiece.
Running down this list, the only persons without management, Dino Bravo and Jim Duggan.
And one of them.
I'm wrong, because Dino Bravo had Frenchie Martin. I forgot about Frenchie Martin.
I feel it's like because Dino Bravo had Frenchie Martin, and then he had Jimmy Hart after that.
So it'd be Jake Roberts and Jim Duggan. There's another Mid-South tie there, too.
The two faces. The two faces, and one of them considered one of the greatest talkers in the history of the business. So I kind of see why they didn't have managers. Fast forwarding through that, we get to the tournament final.
Jumping all the way through, because mind you, A, we got a time crunch. B, this is all on the network. You can go back and watch this.
This is all available. This is all stuff you can go read. You go to the final. Our premise is to figure out what happens if you don't have the huge babyface celebration at the end, and Ted DiBiase actually wins the WWF Championship
with Andre and Virgil in tow.
A heel champion in the rock and wrestling era.
So let's jump ahead real quick.
Bet. And
to WrestleMania 5.
So the ramifications become as such. Hogan's gone filming a movie.
Which was, I said Ready to Rumble earlier. It was just
No
like
Holds
that. No
Barred.
Holds Barred. Which was the introduction to Zeus into wrestling.
So at this point, we start trying to figure out who goes where, who does what. The easy money is to bet that DiBiase has a 1-year title reign, and the next year it's set up for Hogan to come back and reclaim the throne as the top guy in the company and as the babyface champion.
Now, at this point, Savage is pretty much bulletproof. He's already solidified himself as being a sympathetic babyface, but at the same time, we already know he's a loose cannon. You know.
But what happens if you, in that moment, what happens if you do not elevate Savage?
Well, you have Savage chasing the entire time until Hogan comes back.
So I like that you said that. So, because a lot of people are going to say that the angle of that led to WrestleMania 5 when the Mega Powers explode was one of the best angles ever played out in wrestling, especially for that time.
And that was when you're talking about with the hoisting of Elizabeth up on
using Elizabeth as the pawn in between the two of them, and Savage being insanely jealous and not being able to control his rage.
Ooh-tee.
So in our theory, the way this works out, that 1 year of Savage probably being Intercontinental Champion during that time and chasing Ted DiBiase only to end up unsuccessful and then have Hogan be the one to finally beat DiBiase still feeds into that premise.
I'll do you one better. During his reign as Intercontinental Champion, he'll probably end up losing it while trying to chase DiBiase because of DiBiase's interference, or even so much Virgil for that matter.
So, okay, quick question off the top of your head: who does he lose the Intercontinental title to? Who do you put into that role?
Man, there's so many people. So everybody that we named off in that tournament could be candidates to take the title off of him in any given match.
You got perennial Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man,
Rick Rude. Anybody with a manager, Rick Rude, Dino Bravo, Hacksaw Duggan. You can, and even Duggan didn't have a manager, but you can name anybody that was in the WrestleMania 4 tournament that did not win to take the title off of Savage.
Facts.
And it still makes Savage relevant for the chase, because the Intercontinental Champion never chased Hogan. If you go back to primetime wrestling for like it's like 84, 85 era. The Intercontinental Champion 9 times out of 10 was in the main event, and it was Greg the Hammer Valentine or Tito Santana that was going back and forth with that belt. They never chased Hogan.
And for a lot of time, the Intercontinental Champion was a face until we got to the era like where I'm typically watching a lot, like starting in '90, where Kurt Hennig was like Intercontinental Champion forever,
and then Honky Tonk Man forever.
Like it was typically a face. Like he would crown a face by beating a long tenured champion who's heel,
right?
Like how the Ultimate Warrior was crowned. So,
and also not to cut you off on that aspect, but the purpose of taking the Intercontinental title off of Savage would be to put sole focus for Savage onto the title belt that DiBiase's holding.
So cool. So here's how we do this then. Honky Tonk Man is champion at SummerSlam of '88. That's where he loses the Intercontinental Championship to the Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior, right.
So in our broken pencil rewrite, because Savage has taken a step down out of the world title picture just a little bit, he's not the champion. He's just the number one challenger chasing. By happenstance, he's going to end up beating Honky Tonk Man just to become Intercontinental Champion.
Savage?
Yes. We're going to take Warrior out because we got to give Savage something to do.
But it's okay, so he's not chasing DiBiase for the whole year?
He's still chasing DiBiase, but it's one of those things where like how they do it now. Honky Tonk Man is issuing an open challenge, and the next thing you know, Savage is in the ring dropping an elbow.
All right, so you give it to Savage. How do you get it off of Savage? I mean, because eventually it's got to come off Savage. There's no way Savage goes into 5 with the title.
But see, the way you said get it off of Savage, DiBiase has to be involved with getting it off of Savage. Now, who do you put it on?
Again, anybody in that area.
Which heel do you want to put it on? What heel do you want going into 5 as champion? Because Rick Rude won the title at WrestleMania 5, so you could just move his title reign up to like Royal Rumble.
I'm about to say, yeah, you move it up to Royal Rumble.
So then you still have Rude going into WrestleMania 5 as champion.
You can even play hot potato with the IC title as long as, Rude is in the picture from SummerSlam. Remember, in this era, we don't do that.
Remember, in this era, we don't do that. 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 We don't do We don't get to play hot potato with the title in this era.
Only with Rude though.
Not even with that.
Not even with Rude. Wow.
Now you got to stay true to the era we in.
Okay, so we got to put two titles. We got to put the title on two people before Mania. Then
here's what you have to do. You put it on Savage, then you have to get it off Savage. Then you have to put it on. You don't necessarily have to put it on someone at WrestleMania 5, but progression kind of says that.
I would say if Savage is still the face,
right,
slowly teetering towards heel, you put it on Rude because it keeps Savage out the picture, and then Rude goes into Mania as the champion.
And remember, at the Royal Rumble in 1989, you're not awarding world title shots. It's just
you just win a battle royal.
You just won a battle royal, so that's it. That's how that goes. I agree. So Rude versus Savage at WrestleMania. I mean, at Royal Rumble '89, which was in Houston, Texas, at the Summit. I like that. Rude goes over with outside interference from DiBiase. So now we're moving in that proper direction.
DiBiase is a dick. So
right. So this makes perfect sense.
He's sitting here causing havoc for everything that matters.
You want my title? I'm going to make your life a living hell. I'm going to buy every situation. I'm going to pay every referee. I'm going to screw you out of every possible situation that can happen.
The hardest part about this is the only people that he had in his corner was an ailing Andre, who eventually became a machine.
But money ain't got no name on it other than the people who...
And Virgil, who was the mainstay.
That part. But in this era, heels stick together to a certain degree. So you can buy whatever you need. You can buy a henchman here, buy a henchman there, pay a referee here, pay a referee there.
Even for a bunch of one-offs. But at the end of the day, there's only two main constants. DiBiase as a champion and Virgil.
That's it.
So WrestleMania 5, DiBiase is at the main event. The main event of this match, of WrestleMania 5 right now is Hogan versus Savage with Elizabeth in the middle because Mega Power split up.
Right. So, but with the way we've screwed this up in this broken pencil rewrite, the whole thing becomes you think Savage is going to be the one that challenges at 5. And for whatever reason, it's not. Now, let's say off the cuff, let's say you have a Saturday night's main event in the middle, and Savage has to beat Andre to get the world title shot. But DiBiase, with more outside interference, causes Savage to lose, so now he's out of the world title picture.
Okay.
Then you have Jack Tunney name his number one contender now. The number one contender is now, guess who? Good Try Terry.
And that's a returning Good Try Terry.
Returning from Hollywood, Good Try Terry. So now the people are like, oh, DiBiase's finally going to get his comeuppance. Meanwhile, Savage just lost his mind.
So Savage is somewhere wanting to be somewhere where the fans want him to be face, but he's doing very heelish things.
Yes,
and all the while,
because at this point he's completely infuriated. He's lost his Intercontinental title. He doesn't have a chance to get even with Ted DiBiase. He's been completely railroaded by the system. There's absolutely no reason for him to like anything that goes on with being a face. And now you have Good Try Terry coming back, stealing his spotlight.
So it could even without the Mega Power split, you're going to have heat between Savage and Hogan anyway.
Right. There's just an underlying issue there already.
So who's your main event for 5 with DiBiase?
Hogan.
So you got Hogan and DiBiase in the main event at 5. Does Hogan get a belt back?
Yeah.
Simply because he's Hogan.
Because it's that time. That's how you got to go off the air. Hogan must pose.
All right. So now
happy ending, basically.
So we can fast forward to June of '89. We have the release of No Holds Barred, the movie, right?
And another reason, because your champion is in a movie.
Yeah, so he has to do media runs with the title.
With the title. All of the
Tonight
above.
Show, David Letterman, Arsenio Hall, all these things he's got to hit.
With the extra long red tights, the yellow boots, the Hulkamania shirt, and the title in tow.
Meanwhile, DiBiase still out here running roughshod because he's the $1 million man.
At this point, DiBiase's super made.
And I say he goes and gets Zeus. He's the one that brings Zeus in.
Okay.
So as opposed to like say setting up some because it was Hogan versus Zeus at SummerSlam. Am I right? 89?
It was a tag team. It was Macho Man and Zeus versus no. Was it? It was DiBiase and Zeus versus the Mega Powers.
So there's DiBiase right there.
Right. So
and then we fast forward to we'll say Survivor Series.
So you do have the option of doing just the rematch, DiBiase versus Hogan with Zeus in the corner. It's like Zeus has to be involved in there at some point. He really shouldn't have been in the ring in the first place.
This is when you get Jack Tunney involved for real this time. Like when I say for real, I mean like on some serious shit, but still kayfabe.
Huge air quotes.
Hogan versus Zeus, brought in by DiBiase. Zeus is a surrogate wrestler.
From everything that I have ever been told, what I've read, what I've listened to, that would not have been possible.
Why not? Because he's too green?
Green as guacamole. Just avocados from Mexico. It wasn't going to work.
I mean, we had to sit through Chronic versus the Brothers of Destruction. So,
but none of them were green. They were just stiff.
Yeah, okay. I got you.
Like Zeus is like super green. Shout out to Zeus, Tiny Lister.
So we can fast forward past that because DiBiase's still in the main event picture come SummerSlam.
Right. So not that much changes in that regard. You just have to figure out what do you get to do with Savage in the meantime, because you have to keep him strong. So you kind of figure out who you want him to beat.
Now,
or does he continue to have issues with DiBiase? Is it okay? Savage is in the corner of Hogan at SummerSlam. So you have DiBiase versus Hogan again, with Zeus in one corner, Savage in the other.
Okay, so what side is Savage playing though?
Savage is still face, so he's still got issues. But of course, in this era, stories have a lot more room to breathe.
So you're dragging. You're slow walking this one.
I'm absolutely dragging this off. I'm dragging it way off.
So there's been plenty of times where Savage has cocked back a fist but not swung on him.
Right.
And Hogan's talking about full edge. Okay.
Right, because they've had all that interaction anyway during 88, like 88 and 89. They were beefing kind of off and on a little bit because Savage is a hothead to begin with. So Savage hates DiBiase, so that's absolutely the reason for him to be in the corner. But at the same time, he's conflicted because it's like, this was supposed to be me.
Sidebar. A lot of reason why we're jumping around to different events throughout the year is because if you don't know, back in this era, pay-per-views were quarterly, if that often.
Right.
So you had Survivor Series in November, which was they call it the Thanksgiving tradition.
This is the beginning of quarterly pay-per-views. Before it was like wasn't even 1, 2, skip a few. It was like one, wait, here's another one, wait, here's another one.
So high content season was November, January, and by 89, the Royal Rumble is now in an official pay-per-view because it was just a special on the USA Network.
Right. So you had January, late March / early April.
Right. And then you have SummerSlam, which is
July,
in August. Yeah, right. Middle of August. So
and then November.
Yep. So that's it. So that's all you have for your pay-per-view calendar was that. So in Survivor Series 89, we only had like the Dream Team. We had which was Dusty Rhodes as captain, the Enforcers, which is Big Boss Man was captain. King's Court was because Macho Man had won. So King of the Ring, that was something. King of the Ring was actually a tournament that had high caliber performers in the tournament. This is in 89. Savage won the King of the Ring, so he actually captained the team during this time frame. Kind of took him away from that main event picture because on this 89 Survivor Series, we had Savage, Earthquake, Dino Bravo, and Greg Hammer Valentine. That was managed by Jimmy Hart, and by this time, Savage had definitely turned face because Sherry's in the corner now.
Or turn heel.
Yeah, turn heel. Yeah, defeating the 4x4s, which was Jim Duggan, Bret Hart, Ronnie Garvin, and Hercules.
So by that stretch of the imagination, I would just say use the King of the Ring and the prestige that comes with it, and that's how you turn Savage full heel. Now he hasn't turned on Hogan yet, but at least you get to start the scene. He starts to feel it himself. He's the King of the Ring. Okay, I tell you what, sweeten the pot. He finally gets to beat DiBiase to win the tournament. He wins the King of the Ring moniker by beating DiBiase. So he's a face when this happens. Soon thereafter, he is so absorbed with himself and his new ego as being king, that's when he starts to turn. A
la Baron Corbin right now, but Baron Corbin has been a heel the entire time. I digress.
There you go. So now you have a reason for him to be a bad guy. He's moved over. He's gotten his heat back from beating DiBiase, and now we're moving towards WrestleMania 6.
And back during this time, your Survivor Series squad was your squad up till Survivor Series. Like that's who you were your ride or dies. They were with you in this.
That's who you were seen on television with for 6 weeks at a time.
So that said, in this pay-per-view, you have DiBiase with the Warlord, the Barbarian, and Zeus. And of course, Warlord and Barbarian were managed by Mr. Fuji. Here's Zeus into the equation here once again because the movie tie-in. By this point, the movie is still at the box office, probably the dollar flick, about to head to VHS release.
Okay,
so of course, if I'm telling you that DiBiase is in this role with Zeus, that means he's going up against Good Try Terry, Jake Roberts, and Axe Smash, aka Demolition.
Okay,
I don't like this. I hate the fact that this is the traditional 4-on-4 Survivor Series match, which your traditional Survivor Series match is a 5-on-5, but let's not get into semantics here. You can do it as a 4-on-4, 5-on-5. You can do a tag team elimination Survivor Series match if you wanted to, but come on, DiBiase's still your champion. Or no, I'm sorry, Good Try Terry's your champion at this point.
Yes. I just thought about it. The only thing I don't like about using the King of the Ring to turn Savage is it basically nullifies the Mega Powers ever existing.
Because that's when he lifted Elizabeth up.
Right. So you would completely not have that. That's the only thing I don't like about using the King of the Ring to turn Savage. So maybe you don't turn him right after he wins it, but that's definitely going to be one of the catalysts.
All right. So what in the hell? That is crazy. We still got this.
We just use that one. Don't worry about it.
We're having timer issues. I'm like, what the fuck is this? At any rate, I digress. I'm doing a lot of digression here today.
Degrassi?
Neil deGrasse Tyson. No, we're not doing any of that. WrestleMania 6.
So as everyone knows, the main event of WrestleMania 6 was the Ultimate Warrior as the Intercontinental Champion, challenging Hulk Hogan, who is WWF Champion. First time there's ever been a title for title match in WrestleMania history.
Let alone a title for title match where someone actually walks away with both titles.
Winner take all. So, given what we've changed, you're obviously trying to get to Hogan Savage as your main event for 6 instead of 5. So you have to figure out, 1, what are you going to do with the Ultimate Warrior? 2, how do you get Savage to Hogan? At this point, this is the era where storylines matter, but you could just book a match out of the blue and then create the story afterwards.
All right. So by this point too, the $1 million title has been created.
Right. You can still have the same progression of events for DiBiase to create the $1 million title, because he can say, I'm the champion, and he just do heel stuff. Say Hogan cheated. He never really beat me. I'm the real champ, and here's why.
Right. So this $1 million title is basically the one title that holds weight, and from a heel perspective, naturally everybody hates it. But one thing heels did back then was tell the truth. No matter what, they told the truth. They told you exactly what it was, right down the middle, daddy.
Right. So on this match card, we have a couple of things that we need to rearrange. The Ultimate Warrior is out of the main event. He is replaced by Randy Savage. On that same card, Dusty Rhodes and Randy Savage had their WrestleMania match. So we need to find a new dance partner for Dusty Rhodes, and we need to find a new dance partner for the Ultimate Warrior.
So Dusty Rhodes and Savage. So you don't want to put the Ultimate Warrior in there with Dusty Rhodes because Dusty dies.
No, I don't want to see that at all. We're good on that, fam. I appreciate you.
So, but I do like maybe like the Barbarian, simply because of they did a lot of this tie-in stuff. Like people could say that Vince didn't pay attention to things around him, but he bought his competition. That's why he had things like DiBiase versus Duggan, or DiBiase versus Jake Roberts, or Duggan versus Jake Roberts.
Here's what I'm looking at. As I'm looking at the match card, which pretty much gives you the active roster that would be available for WrestleMania 6, I do see This is the first time that Mr. Perfect takes a L. This is where he loses his first match because he had been on an undefeated streak the entire time he had been a part of WWF. I think I like Mr. Perfect versus Dusty Rhodes better.
Well, unfortunately, he did take an L during this pay-per-view.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is Mr. Perfect's first loss.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, instead of him wrestling Brutus the Barber Beefcake, I would rather have him wrestle Dusty Rhodes. I feel like I get a better match. Yay or nay? You agree or disagree?
You get a better match, right? But if you're thinking about the reasons for bringing in Mr. Perfect to begin with, old school management says Dusty goes under.
Okay, cool. I don't see. Here's the thing, because you're about to have, coming out of WrestleMania 6, you're still going to have a face champion, and you have to have people lined up to contend. So I don't have a problem with Perfect going over. I just say the better match for entertainment value is probably Mr. Perfect versus Dusty Rhodes.
That's definitely going to be a wrestling match, and it's probably going to be longer than 7 or 8 minutes. It's probably going to be. I'm
cool with that too, because there's a couple of these I can scrap. I remember this pay-per-view very much.
Yeah, it's going to be a couple of, like, that match is probably going to be up in the upper tier in terms of the length of time of that match.
And then I'm sitting here trying to figure out, like, who do you reassign where, and that, to me, that makes a lot more sense.
Savage would be better suited because
Savage is in the main event with Hogan.
He's in the main event with Good Try Terry.
Yeah, you're finally getting the Mega Powers match just a year later.
Do we get?
You got to figure out what to do with the Ultimate Warrior, and then I just made a suggestion.
You know what? I tell you what you do, because Snooker's a face, but Snooker's doing absolutely nothing.
And Snooker's against Rick Rude.
He's not anymore. Snooker's against Warrior.
Why would you do Snooker and Warrior? Or you do
why'd you do Snooker and Rude? I mean, naturally, it was.
I'm saying do Rude and Warrior, because then you can make it for the Intercontinental title.
I was actually going to do DiBiase and Rude.
It's two heels. You know that doesn't happen back then. Stop Mid-South booking this.
No, that's actually that's some Jim Crockett shit. Yeah, that's Jim Crockett tournament shit.
Yeah, stop. Yeah, we're not hanging $1 million up on a ladder tonight. We're not doing that. Don't do that.
Who is that he pulled? He had the Midnight Express go against. Was it the Brainbusters? Arn Tully?
Yes, that was their last angle before they went to New York.
And it was a boo fest. Like, no one cared.
No, everyone cared. It was, you had never seen that before.
Yeah, okay. The reaction was hard to call because no one has. You didn't know who to cheer for, and in fact, you end up cheering for Bobby Eaton.
You just cheer for good work. Like, I appreciate the work that's been put in, but yes, I'm cool. So, what's your option for Warrior? Where you want him to go at this point? You could do Warrior DiBiase.
Nah, that doesn't even look good on paper.
No one looks good with the Warrior on paper, but at least it gives you an opportunity. It gives DiBiase an opportunity to get his comeuppance, because he's been made at this point. He's super made. He has his own title belt. He's the walking, talking, absolute pinnacle of douchebaggery. So
he has a second, and he talks better than his second. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but like, so is Warrior still the IC champ? And you have DiBiase versus Warrior for the IC title?
Yes, I'm with that.
So Good Try Terry versus Savage for the main title then.
Yes. And then now we have to find a new dance partner for Jake Roberts, which for me, I'm cool. Jake Roberts, Rick Rude, give me my money.
There you go. That's a good one.
So now main event, Savage and Good Try Terry. Then you got Rude and Jake Roberts. Then we go Dusty Rhodes and Mr. Perfect.
Okay. All right.
DiBiase Warrior.
Beefcake is sitting by himself,
and he needs a dance. We can put him in a tag team match.
Here it is right here. So Mr. Perfect is tied up in a match with Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
And Beefcake is early on. The Genius is still wrestling. Put him in there with Poffo.
All right. I mean,
yeah, Beefcake versus the Genius Lady Poffo.
I'm trying to say, who is he with on this pay-per-view?
Who, Poffo?
Yeah.
He's in the corner for Mr. Perfect.
Well, there you got. And then Beefcake can put him to sleep, cut his hair. No, for real. That's a good WrestleMania moment. So everybody wins
early on too.
So
So then the Genius has to come back later on because Perfect is further down the card
with his head naked.
Yep.
Yeah, naked headed. So Who doesn't have a dance partner that we pretty much
No, that was it. The only person.
Snooker doesn't have anybody.
Boom, 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 boom.
Catering it is.
Yeah, man. You call them shots from the gorilla position, man. Tell me how Monsoon doing.
I think that's pretty disrespectful, but I mean, it's all for the betterment of the show.
Hey, not for nothing. I mean, you know, history dictates that he did it to himself. So,
well, you know.
I mean, because shortly thereafter, I mean, he goes back to AWA, gets pushed off a top rope by Colonel De Beers, not to be seen or heard of from
Colonel De Beers.
It happened. AWA, look it up.
So that's how we refigured out the year. Well, this is 1990.
This is a whole run for DiBiase. This is
a whole new run for DiBiase, a whole altered run for Hogan, a whole altered run for Randy Savage. Now we are in the year of 1990. So obviously the next major pay-per-view, SummerSlam.
SummerSlam of 1990 had a main event
of Rick Rude versus the Ultimate Warrior in a steel cage.
Now, somewhere on this card, because I'm trying to remember, because this was in Philadelphia. I do remember that much.
At the Spectrum.
Wow. You're talking about throwback. So we had Demolition and the Hart Foundation, which Demolition were being billed as like great value Road Warriors.
Nah, this is that era where they added Crush and they were a 3-man group and they were basically operating with a Freebird rule.
Freebird rule. And in fact, Crush was actually at that pay-per-view.
And then because the Hart Foundation had been getting jumped unmercifully by 3 people, they put in the stipulation that there could only be 2 members of Demolition at ringside. So Smash and Crush worked the whole match. Towards the end of the 3rd fall, or actually the end of the 2nd fall, Axe comes down to the ring, goes under the ring. And for whatever reason, they played it as though the referee could not tell the difference between these 3 obviously different men. And that ended up working itself. And then the Hart Foundation come out on top, but Legion of Doom gets involved, and their involvement starts the feud between those 2 teams.
What's even crazier is DiBiase is nowhere to be found in this pay-per-view.
See, now here's where we got to figure out what's going on. So Savage took the L at WrestleMania.
Yep.
So I feel like we need to find something. Savage is with Dusty Rhodes at this point, and I don't necessarily feel like you have to change that.
No, but where did DiBiase disappear to? Because for you to not be on SummerSlam, you just fall off the face of the fucking
We're gonna
planet.
fix that. Don't worry about that. We'll fix that.
Because we know what happens next. That does not change.
We will fix that. Don't even sweat that. He'll be on the card when we put him here. Don't even worry about it.
All right.
So the Ultimate Warrior defends his newly won WWF Championship against Rick Rude.
Yep.
Obviously, that's not happening here because Hogan's still champion.
And the IC title is on Kerry Von Erich. No, sorry, it's on Mr. Perfect. Or is it on Mr. Perfect?
He lost it. This is the pay-per-view where Von Erich debuts and he wins the Intercontinental title this night.
Right, okay.
So okay, cool. So the Ultimate Warrior he ended up forfeiting the Intercontinental Championship. For the sake of argument, we're still going to go the same way. Mr. Perfect has a title. He got it some way in between time. It was Saturday night's main event or primetime wrestling. He cheated to win.
Right.
So Perfect's your Intercontinental Champion. I'm cool with leaving that match as is versus Texas Tornado. Because at this point, it makes even more sense because still Mr. Perfect is not lost yet.
Word.
Cool. So I'm with that.
Especially by our booking, by our broken pencil logic, Perfect is still undefeated.
Ding, ding. So with the Ultimate Warrior, you do have the option of leaving him in a match with Rick Rude because they have a blood feud that has started since WrestleMania.
No, they have if you really want to be technical, they had a blood feud that started down in Texas.
That part, but we only have so much time.
We
only have so much time. We can't educate everyone on everything every time.
We keep saying check the network. There are gems there. You got to go back and dig.
This is good reference material. So I'm cool with leaving that match there. It just won't be for the championship.
All right. So Savage and Dusty, they get their dance on. Boss Man is in the corner with Good Try Terry, along with Earthquake and Dino Bravo on some Canadian shit.
So here's where you have a decision you can make. You can leave Savage and Dusty together, or is this where Savage? No, they don't usually do rematches. So okay, cool. We'll leave that where it's at.
I think honestly, I think DiBiase comes in the pay-per-view to cause havoc somewhere.
I'm cool with that. If DiBiase has an angle to where he basically starts a new feud, I'm with that.
And if he's going to start a feud, mind you, he's never been face. Do it with an incoming Kerry Von Erich. If you're going to take the title off of Mr. Perfect,
I like that. Like jump him in the post-match interview.
There you go.
DiBiase hits him with the $1 million title. Okay,
so now, well, no, because that doesn't. Okay, I'm really about to dig into some Texas bag shit, but I can't do it on this. I can't do it right here.
The timer is running.
Yeah. So at any rate, yeah. So DiBiase comes in after Mr. Perfect loses to Kerry Von Erich, and while Kerry's celebrating, here comes DiBiase hitting him upside the head with a $1 million title and says, "I'm the real champion."
Wham!
It doesn't matter what belt it is. DiBiase is the real champion.
Wham! I'm with that. I'm personally cool with that. So a lot of SummerSlam 90 doesn't even really change. It's just who has what belt.
Right. The card is pretty much the same.
Now the only thing we have to fix, at some point Savage needs a title reign.
Savage does?
We gotta make him whole.
Okay, so
pause. But that is the term. But we gotta get him, we gotta get him situated.
So, like I said, there's no way we change the events that lead up to and include Survivor Series 1990.
I like the SummerSlam 90 card as is. I don't think there's a whole lot to change.
And once again, this is all elimination matches.
You just change the order. Or you have Hogan. You want to do an angle with Savage jumping on Hogan at the end of this?
In the Survivor Series?
No, at the end of SummerSlam 90.
Who is Good Try Terry the champion going in Survivor Series?
Yes, he's still champion because here at SummerSlam he's beating Earthquake.
Yeah, that's perfect. So
Earthquake same angle. Earthquake puts him out on the shelf as champion.
Multiple avalanches from the corner.
Right, and then you get the whole situation. Yeah, you get the
crushed ribs and
the whole thing, the cards, the letters, the whole thing. You stage it all.
Yes.
Come back, he's defending his championship because there's no 30-day rule in WWF. So yeah, that only exists down south. So go ahead and do that, and then we can move on to Survivor Series 90, which is actually one of my favorite pay-per-views ever.
I mean, it's most people's, and most people who haven't even seen it don't even know why it should be their favorite. No matter what, we get a bunch of vignettes back at WWF Wrestling Challenge and Superstars of Wrestling.
Gotcha.
With Brother Love, because Brother Love is in the picture at this point, and on Brother Love's show, what was the name of Brother Love's little segment? Like his Brother Love's Piper Pit. What was the name of his segment?
It was just the Brother Love show.
Okay, so on the Brother Love show, he bring out Ted DiBiase, who introduces or who tells us he's bringing out someone for Survivor Series, and the greatest character in the history of WWF, arguably the greatest character in the history of professional wrestling, is born when the $1 Million Team, comprised of the Honky Tonk Man, Greg the Hammer Valentine, and Ted DiBiase, along with Brother Love, Jimmy Hart, and Virgil in the corner, bring out a 6'10", 300-pound Undertaker for his very first appearance in WWF.
Formerly known as Mean Mark Callis.
Of the Twin Towers, who tag team partnered with Sid Vicious and also Dangerous Dan Spivey.
Savage is absent from this pay-per-view.
Completely.
So, so looking at that.
Ooh, yeah.
What do you want to do? You just want to leave him off here completely and just Just leave this event as is because there's no title matches here.
There's no title matches here, and this is what I'm going to get at. So the whole thing is about DiBiase is that this does not change, no matter what. This does not change anything.
I want to say Savage cut a promo on this pay per view. He had an interview with Mean Gene.
Was this the same year as Tuesday?
No. Tuesday in Texas is
that
like
was 91. Yeah,
that's the year after. So we're in 90. We don't have to change this any. Just keep the same promo from Savage where he's, let him figure out what he's about to do.
All right. So Royal Rumble 1991. This is kind of the
build to 7.
The build to WrestleMania 7 as you have, let's see here. DiBiase and Virgil they tagged against the Rhodes. So I guess there was heat where DiBiase slapped Dustin Rhodes, who was in the crowd, and then beat up Dusty, and Dusty cried to get his son for his partner, and at the Rumble. I don't too much change that, but you got to get some heat on him for getting him close to the championship. But at this time though, the champion was the Ultimate Warrior, who got defeated by Sergeant Slaughter at this pay-per-view.
So this is where it gets tricky. You got to get the belt off of Hogan onto Warrior, and my choice for the WrestleMania opponent for Warrior as champion is Savage, and this is how we get Savage's title reign.
But how do you get the belt off of Good Try Terry between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania in 91?
Same way you got it off the Warrior. So you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to change the players. So Hogan's champion. The challenger. You want to go challenger Warrior, challenger Slaughter?
Challenger Slaughter, because Slaughter is a Iraqi sympathizer.
And the reason I'm saying that is because if Warrior's your challenger and Savage gets involved and Slaughter gets involved, that'll set up your dance partners.
So, but now mind you, Slaughter is an Iraqi sympathizer at this point. So no matter what he does, the world hates him.
Right. So he's perfect for Good Try Terry at WrestleMania 7.
The real American.
Ding. So that's cool, but it doesn't have to have a title involved either.
Do you get DiBiase into a title picture, or do you leave him where he is with Virgil, Dusty, and Dustin?
Nah, he good where he at right now. Now you can go ahead and do his same angle with Roddy Piper. Because he's super made. He's even more made.
At this point, he's virtually bulletproof.
Right. So at this point, you just need good stories for him, which he had after that. You didn't make him by making him the champion and having that long title reign to establish how great of a character he is and how he should be revered by the watching public.
Okay, so here's what you do. Sometime in the meantime, in between time, because naturally the build from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania only involves like Piper's Pits and Brother Loves and things of that nature with some occasional run-ins, right?
Uh-huh.
Somehow, some way, you get Savage involved in some of these vignettes, talking, as Sergeant Slaughter's tearing down the country that made him famous, a la G.I. Joe. Savage comes in and starts saying, "Don't you talk about my country." Yeah. Then Hogan comes in, mad at Savage hopping in this business. And you could quite possibly, this is a stretch, set up your first triple threat match.
I don't think we're doing those that early. Like,
not even in 91?
Nah. Not in the WWF, sir. Now, other places, absolutely, because that crossed my mind a few times about how to tie up these loose ends.
All right,
you just throw 3 people in the ring, but just, in this era, that ain't the move.
We still have another option. We can still have like a Jack Tunney run in where we have Slaughter versus Savage, and the winner takes on Good Try Terry, and then you have Savage by hook or crook take the belt off of Good Try Terry. At 91,
you could, because here's the thing. I was looking at the possibility of having a heel Savage take the belt off of Warrior, only because Warrior's best match ever in life was at WrestleMania 7 versus Randy Savage.
You're absolutely right.
So I'm like, why not get that in the main event for the championship? But I mean, I do agree. Like Savage beating Hogan is symmetry. It's like it's bringing things full circle. And then yes, the Warrior can be the first challenger, but then you don't really want him to take that L.
All right, so
online Instagram, we're gonna post a post about this. And we're going to look for your feedback.
We're not looking for anything in particular. We just want your ideas. We want to know what you think is going to be your best option for any of these eras.
Did we do it right? Would you do something different? Do you have a different idea about how we get to where we get?
And mind you, this all started with DiBiase at the main event in '88.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time.
So, that being said, I got a mixtape for you.
All right, let's get it.
So we said earlier we would bringing up Butch Reed again, right? there could be anybody that could fit into, because the $1 Million Man is an actual character. It's a character in this world of cartoon characters that you had. And he was probably the most realistic thing that you had, because entitlement was kind of cool back then. Being rich was kind of cool back in the mid '80s.
It came out of the shout out to Bruce Pritchard, the box of gimmicks. So
well, that was a great gimmick, probably the second greatest gimmick next to the Undertaker.
So we have the question that we want to pose. We're gonna make this mixtape. Who else could have played the part of the $1 Million Man?
Now, this is not a traditional broken pencil mixtape like we normally do. We're going to throw names, and some of these are going to stick, and some are going to fall right off the wall.
Some of them have really, really clever explanations as to why. Other ones are just like, well, that was who was available.
So the first one on my list, he was yet to come into the WWF, but he had made a name for himself in the Mid-South and a little bit in Texas, and he was a babyface and had a hell of a heel turn, and he also made his way to NWA, WCW at the time. Terry Taylor.
It's not a bad. That's not a bad choice. From everything that I've heard, because he had been brought up as like who should have been the Black Scorpion in WCW. He's been brought up for almost every mystery guy role possible, other than like just don't make him the Red Rooster.
There were things that he had going in his favor, like he was a smaller guy that actually had enough weight to be legitimate heavyweight. He was tall. He had a good look about him, and he had hair.
He could work.
There's that too. He was the first person I saw body slam Kamala.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And this was in like '84.
That's crazy.
I also like Kerry Von Erich.
Okay.
Now, not people will say what they want to about Kerry Von Erich. I'm
out on this one.
He had the look, and he came from a family that was that had long lineage in the wrestling business.
Because in my humble opinion, if it was Kerry Von Erich, then Virgil would have had to do all the talking.
And there was no way. It was years before Virgil said a word, wasn't it?
That part. That part.
I also like Scott Hall back then.
I'm out on that one too.
So Scott Hall had a look.
Star Fox
in '88, but like he was it '86 in AWA? He looked just like Tom Selleck.
Nah, fam, he needed to suffer through that Diamond Stud gimmick so he could find himself.
The Diamond Stud gimmick was in the '90s,
but that's what I'm saying. You're gonna have to go through some things before you look.
By that point, he had slimmed down way down from where he was in AWA.
He's gonna be a better writer someday when he learns to suffer more. That was his time. He was paying a lot of dues. Like me personally, I don't know if that would have worked. Putting that suit, that shimmering black and gold suit on Scott Hall would have looked corny.
I'll tell you somebody who would have looked fly on, and you could have pushed Bobby the Brain Heenan respectfully to the side on. Rick Rude. Rick Rude came from Minnesota.
Yeah, and he cut his hair about 90, so it would be a little different on the introduction of the character. But
yeah, I mean, yeah. But even if you would have just did something as simple as put his hair into a ponytail, or even like buns weren't popular back then, but you put his hair into a ponytail back then, make him look like an aristocrat of sorts.
It look like a hippie. you $1 Million Man got to be clean cut, like so.
Well, he did have the handlebar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had the Ron Jeremy stash.
So, other names I threw out there, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. No, you had
I can only imagine Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert trying to pull off the $1 Million Man. Like, I would have liked to see him do that in the South. Like,
he was a chicken shit heel.
Exactly.
His father was wrestling royalty as a referee and a wrestler.
Right.
Tommy Gilbert. His brother was the ultimate like deviant, Dirty Doug Gilbert.
Dougie, Doug.
Who was also a dirty white boy at one point in time, which was so fitting for him.
That's hilarious. If you've never seen the Dirty White Boys, I urge you to go search for them.
Lynn Denton, Tony Anthony, and at one point in time, Doug Gilbert. Look him up.
Right.
You had some names though, bro.
I did have a couple of names. Here's my funny one. I'm gonna lead off with the funniest one I have.
But land this plane quickly because we could take 20 minutes on this one alone.
Hey, look, my idea is to have Junkyard Dog as the $1 Million Man, and I know immediately it sounds like what the fuck? How? You know how? Lottery. The Junkyard Dog hits the lotto.
He is from the South. He's from Mississippi.
He hits the lotto and turns into a smug rich man. Money has changed him. He's not even the Junkyard Dog anymore.
Is he Sylvester Ritter? Or does he have another last name?
I'm absolutely cool with him going with his real name.
But
the $1 Million Man, Sylvester Ritter.
I like Sylvester. Give him another last name. Don't say Johnson. Now he seems like a throwback to like Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas.
Sylvester Currency.
Sylvester Carrington. Dynasty was popular back then.
Cool. That'll work. See, I had never watched a fucking episode of Dynasty in that era. Now that's before me.
Here's the flip side. If that or Sylvester Newman.
Nah, I like Carrington.
Here's the flip side. So you were saying that if you had $1 Million Man gimmick to put on a black man in 88.
Yes.
Or 87 rather, you would have to have a Virgil.
Still, yeah, because Virgil comes with it.
I encourage you, Broken Pencil pushers, to go look up enhancement talent superstar Mike Jackson.
Be that as it may, I'm sticking with Mike Jones as Virgil.
Who?
Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones. I'm sticking with Mike Jones, aka Virgil,
aka Vincent, aka Soul Train Jones.
All the above. He's still playing Virgil for Sylvester Carrington and doing all the same stuff he did for Ted DiBiase.
Now, there's all these tie-ins back to Mid-South Wrestling. Here's another one for you. You want to throw a black man in the mix? There's a black man that's already on his way to WWF if he wasn't already there yet. He went by the Natural at that time, but how does the name the $1 Million Man Butch Reed sound?
It sounds like
money.
Sounds hilarious.
Sounds like money.
Because I can only imagine the type of promos Butch Reed would cut talking like a rich man.
You get a street thug from Kansas City, Missouri, who's known for.
It's gonna go wrong. I'm telling you right now, that moment Booker T had in '96, you gonna have that same moment in like '88.
There is no way you do live promos with him at any pay-per-view. You only got 4 per year. You're not about to burn your budget on.
Let me tell you about the rest of you old broke motherfucker. I'm just saying you gonna have a slip of the tongue and he gonna call somebody out their name.
I'm gonna whoop your ass, boy. And you couldn't say ass in the early '80s.
It's gonna be crazy. Another honorable mention on my list, Gino Hernandez.
Rest in peace.
Yes, he lived the life, so I absolutely know he could play this part.
Gino would have been probably the epitome of life imitating art.
Right. He would have crashed that plane, not landed it.
You also had Kurt Hennig on this list.
I did. I felt like Kurt Hennig could absolutely have pulled this off. Now, Mr. Perfect was absolutely perfect for him, but in the event that something else was pulled out of the box of gimmicks, I feel like he could have played that part.
$1 Million Man Al Perez, another name you brought up.
I did, mainly on look. I don't know if he could have pulled. He certainly couldn't have pulled it off to the level of Ted DiBiase, or even what I think the Junkyard Dog could have done.
He had he was in a tag team back in Mid-South with some guy named Wendell Wildcat Cooley. And then he ended up leaving Mid-South and went to Texas and had a nice little stint in Texas for a minute.
Okay.
And then, but so he who was he in WWF? Because he had a small run in WWF.
You had to look that up.
Yeah, that's
get your
homework.
Googles on that.
There's your homework.
And my last submission for possible $1 Million Man fill in. This one's a home run. Tully Blanchard.
Wow.
Tully Blanchard essentially was the $1 Million Man in the NWA. He just happened to be a part of the Four Horsemen and he wasn't getting a solo run. But he lived that life and he talked that talk.
And he was the epitome of what a mid-card champion should have been. He was the closest thing you could get to your champion without touching your champion.
That part.
The $1 Million Man, Tully Blanchard. And he was also wrestling royalty.
Right. So tell us if we missed somebody. Tell us, we left someone off that could be included in this mixtape. Someone that you think might have been a better $1 Million Man. Someone who was suited for that role.
Yeah, and I mean, brokenpencilbc at gmail.com, show at brokenpencilbc.com, the new brokenpencilbc.com, launching soon if it's not already up by the time you hear this. We got a new home. All 47 episodes of the Broken Pencil Booking Company are now on YouTube and also on our on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We've changed the game. We've grown thanks to you.
We at you. Merchandise is available now. That should be up on the Instagram account pretty soon.
The merch is beautiful.
You got to see the merch game.
The merch is beautiful.
Just in time for the holidays, you guys will be able to make some orders.
Suave, do me a favor.
What's up?
Take us to the house.
Hit them with the hashtags first.
Oh, how soon I forget? You can't write this. Mark my words. Fuck Life Showed It. Broken Pencil Logic. Fuck the Casual Fan and Mark My Words. Did I say Mark My Words already?
I believe you did.
Okay, hold on.
We might be missing
with the shit. There it is.
Can't never forget that we with the shit.
We always with the shit. We with the shit. This episode proves that we with the shit for breakfast.
Breakfast.
That's why you can do me a favor now.
Yeah.
Take us to the house.
Pencil pushers. Heads up. Pencils down.